Welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at post-anesthetic myopathy in warm blood horses, but we're going way beyond the basics this time.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for a neurologist-level understanding of this condition, and we're going to deliver that.
Right.
We're going to be focusing on a recent case series published in JAVMA, where researchers investigated 7 warm bloods that developed severe PAM.
This is a fascinating case series because it really does suggest that warm bloods might be more susceptible to this condition than we previously thought.
So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
The researchers looked at a variety of factors that could have contributed to the development of PAM in these horses.
Right.
So what were some of their key findings?
Well, they found that all 7 horses developed PAM after anesthesia despite showing no signs of myopathy before the procedure. Interestingly, most of the horses were in regular work prior to anesthesia.
Interesting. So that kind of suggests that there might be something else at play here?
Yeah, it does.
What are the anesthetic procedures themselves?
Right.
Did they find any commonalities?
Actually, the horses underwent a variety of procedures ranging from colic surgeries to arthroscopic procedures and even a cervical CT myelogram.
So it doesn't seem like the specific type of procedure is to blame here.
No.
It seems like the anesthesia itself is the common thread.
Yeah.
So what were the clinical signs of PAM in these horses?
The horses in this case series exhibited many of the classic signs of PAM: muscle stiffness and pain, sweating, difficulty standing, myoglobinuria, and elevated muscle enzyme activity.
Okay, so we've got a group of warm bloods, all in seemingly good health,
Right.
who developed severe PAM after undergoing various procedures requiring anesthesia.
Right.
Now, we know that there are some typical risk factors associated with PAM.
Of course.
Did the researchers find any evidence of these in the warm blood cases?
So we investigated all the usual suspects: body weight, position during anesthesia, length of anesthesia, oxygen levels, blood flow, and blood pressure. However, we discovered that these horses didn't display those classic risk factors to a degree that would explain such severe PAM.
So that's the burning question then.
Yeah.
If the typical risk factors weren't the main culprits, what did the researchers propose as a possible explanation?
They believe a hypermetabolic event potentially triggered by hypoxia-reperfusion injury during recovery might be responsible.
Okay.
Essentially, they're suggesting that a period of low oxygen followed by a sudden rush of oxygen when blood flow is restored could lead to a cascade of damaging events at the cellular level.
So are they saying that the restoration of blood flow after a period of low oxygen rather than the low oxygen itself is actually the problem?
Precisely. This sudden influx of oxygen can trigger a process called anaerobic glycolysis, where the muscles are forced to work without sufficient oxygen.
And that leads to
a buildup of lactic acid or lactate, which we did observe in these horses. High lactate levels contribute to muscle damage because it's essentially like the muscles are drowning in their own waste products.
Okay, that makes sense. The researchers also mentioned glycogen depletion.
Right.
Could you explain that a bit further?
Sure. Glycogen is the primary fuel source for muscles. The researchers hypothesized that the hypoxia-perfusion injury, in conjunction with the horse's struggle to stand, depleted their glycogen stores.
Okay. And without this crucial fuel,
the muscles can't function properly, leading to weakness, pain, and ultimately the breakdown we see in rhabdomyolysis.
So this hypermetabolic event sounds like a real chain reaction, ultimately crippling the horse's muscles.
It is.
But why would warm bloods be particularly susceptible?
Right.
That's what makes this research so important, right?
Absolutely. The researchers explored the possibility of a genetic predisposition. It's important to note that while some horses showed signs of chronic muscle damage, most didn't.
So pre-existing muscle disease isn't the explanation here.
Exactly. It points to a potential inherent susceptibility in warm bloods that makes them more sensitive to this cascade of events triggered by anesthesia.
Did they pinpoint any specific genetic factors?
Not in this particular study. They even tested for some known myopathy-related genes, and those came back negative.
So the genetic link is still an open question, but a very intriguing one for future research.
Definitely. Unraveling the genetic basis of PAM in warm bloods could revolutionize how we approach anesthesia in this breed.
Now let's move on to treatment and prevention.
Okay.
What options are available for horses that develop PAM?
Standard treatment for PAM involves pain management, intravenous fluids, and in some cases, antioxidants like vitamin E. There's also a drug called dantrolene, which blocks calcium release in muscles that could potentially play a role in preventing or even treating PAM.
So dantrolene might be able to interrupt that cascade of cellular damage.
It might.
What about prevention?
Right.
What can vets do to reduce the risk of PAM and warm bloods, especially in light of this new research?
This case series highlights the need for heightened vigilance in monitoring warm blood horses during and after anesthesia. We can't simply assume everything is fine because the surgery went well.
What specific steps should vets be taking?
Monitoring vital signs and muscle enzyme levels closely is crucial, along with watching for any subtle signs of stiffness or pain. The researchers also recommend extending monitoring for up to 2 weeks post-anesthesia, given the potential for delayed rhabdomyolysis.
So early intervention is key. This has been quite a bit of information to process.
It has.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
This research is a wake-up call. Warm blood horses may be significantly more susceptible to severe PAM than we previously thought.
And it's not just about recognizing the risk.
Right.
It's about taking proactive steps to minimize that risk.
Precisely. We need to exercise extra caution with anesthesia in warm bloods and invest in more research to understand the underlying mechanisms and develop better treatments.
Well said. This research certainly raises a lot of questions that need answers. What further research could be done to investigate this potential genetic basis and develop better strategies for prevention and treatment of PAM?
That's the crux of the matter. We need large-scale genetic studies to identify the specific genes or genetic variations that might be contributing to PAM susceptibility in warm bloods. And from a preventative standpoint, research into the effectiveness of different anesthetic agents, pre-anesthetic medications, and even dietary interventions in preventing PAM in this breed is crucial.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to protecting the health of our horses. Let's dive deeper into the specifics of the JAVMA case series.
So the researchers went beyond just observing clinical signs. They actually took a look at the muscle tissue under a microscope.
So the muscle biopsies revealed a lot about what was going on at the cellular level.
Oh, yeah.
What were some of the key findings there?
Well, they found acute myodegeneration, which is essentially active muscle cell death.
Oh, wow.
In 6 out of the 7 horses.
Okay.
This indicates that the muscle damage was occurring in real time, not as a result of a pre-existing condition.
And we know that the researchers were particularly interested in glycogen depletion. Did the muscle biopsies confirm that?
Yes, they did. 5 out of the 6 horses tested had virtually no glycogen left in their muscles,
Oh my gosh.
confirming that their fuel tanks were completely empty.
Wow. It's no wonder they were unable to stand. The researchers took extra steps to validate their findings, right?
Yeah, they used a special stain called PAS to visualize the glycogen and even included control samples to ensure the depletion wasn't just an artifact of the postmortem process. So the control samples taken from muscle tissue collected at various times after death still contained plenty of glycogen.
So it wasn't decomposition that caused the glycogen depletion in these horses.
Right.
It was a direct consequence of the PAM. Did the researchers look at any other markers of muscle damage?
They also looked at a protein called desmin, which is essential for maintaining the structural integrity of muscle fibers. Think of it as the scaffolding that holds everything together.
Okay. And what did they find with regard to desmin?
They observed an absence of desmin in the damaged muscle fibers, but noted its presence in smaller, newly formed fibers. This suggests that while ongoing damage was present, the horses' bodies were also trying to repair themselves.
It's like their bodies were waging an internal battle against this condition. Sadly, in most of these cases, the damage was too extensive for regeneration to fully occur.
That's right. This detailed microscopic analysis underscores the complex nature of PAM.
Yeah.
It's not merely sore muscles,
Right.
but a multifactorial condition with the potential for really severe consequences.
And it emphasizes the need for a comprehensive approach to both prevention and treatment.
Absolutely.
So let's delve deeper into preventative measures. What specific steps can veterinarians take to reduce the risk of PAM in warm bloods,
Right.
particularly considering their potential susceptibility?
Well, a thorough pre-anesthetic assessment is crucial.
Okay.
This involves a detailed history, a comprehensive physical examination, and blood work, including muscle enzyme levels. We can't assume a warm blood is healthy simply because it appears fit.
So a deeper dive beyond just the outward appearance is necessary.
Absolutely.
What about the anesthesia protocols themselves? Are there any specific adjustments that might be beneficial for warm bloods?
Well, that's an area where further research is needed. However, a key principle is to minimize the duration of anesthesia whenever possible. Essentially, time is muscle.
I like that. Concise and accurate. What other factors are important during the procedure?
Maintaining appropriate blood pressure and oxygen levels throughout the procedure is critical. Vigilant monitoring of these vital parameters is absolutely paramount.
And we can't forget about positioning. We touched upon how lateral recumbency can increase the risk of PAM. How can vets minimize this risk?
We need to be extremely mindful of positioning, using adequate padding and ensuring even weight distribution to minimize pressure on those vulnerable muscle groups. It's almost like treating them as fragile patients, even if they're young and athletic.
Right. Their susceptibility to PAM warrants that level of caution. Now let's shift gears and discuss the situation where a warm blood undergoes anesthesia. Everything initially seems fine, but then days later signs of PAM emerge. What steps should be taken in this scenario?
Well, rapid action is crucial. The first step is confirming the diagnosis through blood work, specifically checking those muscle enzyme levels again. If they are elevated, aggressive treatment is necessary.
And what does that treatment involve?
Aggressive treatment includes pain management, intravenous fluids, and potentially those antioxidants and dantrolene we discussed earlier. Supportive care is also important, as these horses might need help standing, so slings or other assistive devices could be crucial. We also want to minimize their movement and stress to allow those muscles time to heal.
And what about their nutritional needs? We know those glycogen stores need to be replenished.
Absolutely. A balanced diet, potentially supplemented with electrolytes or other nutrients, can support their recovery.
Okay.
All of this emphasizes the need for ongoing vigilance. We can't just assume they'll bounce back on their own. Close monitoring, early intervention, and comprehensive care are key to maximizing their chances of a full recovery.
The JVMA case series also highlighted a concerning finding: the possibility of long-term complications.
Right.
What did the researchers observe in this regard?
They found evidence of damage in other organs, such as the heart and kidneys, in a couple of the horses.
So the impact of PAM extends beyond just the muscles.
Unfortunately, yes. The muscle breakdown releases substances that can be harmful to other organs,
Oh, wow.
particularly if the condition is severe.
And what about neurological complications? Were there any indications of those?
One horse exhibited evidence of spinal cord damage, and another had lesions in the brainstem.
That's a frightening thought.
Yeah.
So PAM could potentially affect their brain and nervous system as well.
While it's a rare complication, it is a possibility, especially in severe cases. This adds another layer of complexity to this already challenging condition.
It seems that the potential for long-term repercussions necessitates extended monitoring even after a horse appears to recover from the acute phase of PAM.
Exactly. Regular checkups and blood work are vital to catch any lingering problems. This research is a sobering reminder that anesthesia, even when performed by skilled professionals, carries inherent risks.
And it seems those risks are heightened for warm bloods when it comes to PAM. What message should warm blood owners take away from this research?
First and foremost, they need to understand that their horse may be predisposed to this condition. Don't hesitate to discuss the risks, preventative measures, and post-anesthesia warning signs with your veterinarian.
Open communication is key. What if a horse does develop PAM? Is there any reason for hope?
Absolutely. With prompt and aggressive treatment, many horses can recover. It's a journey that requires patience, dedication, and a strong partnership with your veterinarian. But remember, this research is just the beginning. The more we learn about PAM in warm bloods, the better equipped we'll be to protect these magnificent animals.
So let's shift our focus now to the methodology employed by the researchers in this study. They didn't just focus on those 7 warm bloods, though, right? They analyzed data from a much larger pool of horses that had developed PAM.
Right. They started with data from Michigan State University and the Valberg Neuromuscular Diagnostic Laboratory, which contained information on over 2,900 cases of PAM in horses.
Wow, it's a massive amount of data.
It is. This extensive data set allowed them to compare the warm blood cases to other breeds and pinpoint the unique characteristics of PAM in this specific population.
Okay.
So their observations weren't based solely on anecdotal evidence, but were backed by a substantial amount of data.
That definitely strengthens the validity of their findings. They also took a very meticulous approach when gathering information for each of the 7 warm blood cases.
Oh, absolutely. They reviewed medical records, anesthesia logs, blood work results, and even the reports from those muscle biopsies we discussed earlier.
Right.
It was a truly comprehensive analysis that provided a very clear picture of PAM in warm bloods.
And it's important to note that they didn't just focus on the horses that didn't survive. They also tracked the recovery and any long-term complications in the horses that did.
That's correct. This provided a more complete understanding of how the disease progresses over time and highlights the importance of long-term follow-up care.
Right.
Even if a horse seems to have recovered from the initial PAM episode, there's still a chance of ongoing problems.
So continued vigilance is necessary. It seems like this research exemplifies the value of meticulous record-keeping and thorough investigation.
It certainly does. And it also demonstrates that even in cases with a tragic outcome, there are valuable lessons to be learned.
Speaking of outcomes, the researchers were very transparent about the fact that 3 of the 7 warm-blood horses had to be euthanized.
That's a difficult decision, but it underscores the severity of this condition and the potential for devastating consequences.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the importance of doing everything possible to prevent this from happening.
Absolutely. Now, like all good research, this study had some limitations. The researchers acknowledged that their sample size was relatively small.
7 horses, while significant, is still a limited number from a statistical perspective.
But they pointed out that their observations align with anecdotal reports and other smaller studies.
Right. So while larger studies are needed to confirm their findings, their work shouldn't be discounted.
They also mentioned some inconsistencies in how the cases were monitored and managed.
That's a common challenge with retrospective studies. You're working with records that weren't necessarily collected with this specific research question in mind.
But they did their best to account for those variations and extract meaningful data.
They did, and they were upfront about those limitations, which is crucial for maintaining scientific integrity.
They also acknowledged the variability in the specific muscle samples they analyzed.
Ideally, they would have had samples from the same muscles in every horse, but that wasn't always feasible.
But they still found consistent patterns of damage across the different muscles they examined.
Exactly. Supporting the understanding that PIM is a systemic condition that affects muscles throughout the body.
Despite these limitations, this research is a valuable contribution to our understanding of PAM in warm bloods.
It is.
It has opened the door for future studies to explore the genetic and molecular mechanisms of this complex condition in more detail.
It certainly has, and it has really highlighted the importance of collaboration between researchers, veterinarians, and horse owners in ensuring the well-being of these incredible animals.
It truly is a team effort. This deep dive has taken us from the microscopic level of muscle tissue to the broader implications for warm blood health. This research has been incredibly eye-opening, to say the least. It's a reminder that in veterinary medicine, there's always more to learn and always new mysteries to solve.
And sometimes the most unexpected discoveries can lead to the most groundbreaking advancements. It's a testament to the power of scientific inquiry and the unwavering dedication of researchers who are constantly pushing the boundaries of our understanding to improve animal health.
This case series has definitely made a difference. It has raised awareness of PAM in warm bloods and sparked new research to address this challenging condition.
And that's what progress is all about. Taking these initial findings, asking more questions, and persistently seeking answers. This research underscores the fact that the pursuit of knowledge isn't just about finding answers, but about finding solutions. It's about taking those solutions and improving the lives of animals and the people who love them.
This deep dive has truly been a journey of discovery, and it will undoubtedly continue to evolve as we learn more about PAM in warm bloods. It has shown us that even the most devastating conditions can be a catalyst for discovery, and that even in the face of tragedy, there is always a glimmer of hope.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that in veterinary medicine, we're always learning, always adapting, and always striving to provide the best possible care for our patients. And that sometimes the most difficult cases, the ones that challenge our current understanding, are the ones that drive us to make the biggest advancements in the field.
So let's continue to ask questions, support research efforts, and advocate for the health and well-being of warm bloods in all horses.
It's a mission we all share, and one that will ultimately benefit not only these magnificent animals, but the entire equestrian community.
From Vet NeuroJar, keep those minds inspired, hearts light, and tails wagging.